Jeff Passan, there appear to have been two front office executives who at the trade deadline step out and put their team in the best position. One of them runs the Atlanta Braves. The other runs the San Diego Padres, right?
That's right, Ravi. And A.J. Preller is on the verge of pulling off another monster trade. Tanner Scott, the closer for the Miami Marlins, arguably the best relief arm on the market at this deadline, is on the verge of being sent to San Diego. It's still in medical review at this point. It's unclear the players who are going to be going back to Miami. They have already made a big move to get Jason Adam from the Tampa Bay Rays and add him to a bullpen with Adrian Morejon, Jeremiah Estrada, Yuki Matsui, and Robert Suarez at the back end. The Padres have had some difficulty with their starters this year. Yu-Darvish is out for an undetermined amount of time, and Joe Musgrove still isn't back from an injury. What they're doing now is building a mega bullpen, and adding Tanner Scott to that is a huge part of it, Ravi.
No doubt, and because they have, at least in the last couple of starts for both Cease and King, no-hit stuff when they go on the mound, and they tend to go deep in the game. So if you can work with the starter 3, starter 4, and 5 with a bullpen like that, that is an absolute circle team of one you don't want to deal with if they get into the playoffs.
Right. Davey Johnson told me 20 years ago, you win in the postseason with bullpen and bench. And it's even more important today with the way that we used our bullpen. Just like Dave Dabrowski said, got to add to your bullpen because you use it so often. Now they're building a really nice bullpen. And like Jeff said, if they get those 2 starters back healthy, that's a darn good pitching staff to go with an offense that's going to get better when Tatis Jr. comes.
Go ahead. I was going to ask you, doesn't this drive other executives bananas? That seriously, it's A.J. Preller again? How does this happen?
Because he makes deals, right? He doesn't fret over, like, small bits of value. And look, when you talk with executives of other teams, they look at the National League wildcard race. The team that's mentioned to me so often, like, boy, the Padres are kind of dangerous. Man, the Padres are dangerous.
Well, not only are they dangerous, they know when that phone rings or that text message is received from AJ, it's not like, well, let me see. He's not going to dance around it. He's going to be aggressive. He's been aggressive the entire time, and now you add another left-handed arm, power arm to that bullpen that hides the ball well, that can get righties in, lefties out. And if he gets as dominant as he was in the second half of the season,
yes,
as he was last year, watch out.
Tatis is coming back too, by the way.
Right. I got 3 texts from A.J. Preller this week saying, sorry I couldn't get back to you. I was busy making a trade.
He didn't make a trade with you?
That's the way it works, like every day of the year, but especially during the
But look, he does it for the organization, and rest in peace for the late, great Peter Seidler. He's continuing on that tradition. But if you're a fan of the Padres, I mean, you have to sit there and be like, my guy got it done again.
Right, that's what he does.
My guy got it done again. Well, we'll put it up there on the screen now. Is it official now, Jeff Passan?
Yeah, it's official.
Tanner Scott, acquired by the Padres from the Marlins. 20 other teams that thought about Tanner Scott now are left at the altar. 2024 All-Star selection, first career lights out. We've been around a bunch of managers that every time they see the team up on the screen, Alden Gonzalez, and they watch him play, they give you this, whew, that guy right there, that's the one we need. They begin a set with the Dodgers. What an atmosphere it's going to be there tonight in San Diego.
Yeah, it's been a great atmosphere here all year long. I mean, against the Dodgers, a 2-game series. Coming off this move, I can't imagine just how electric it's going to be. And guys, like, you didn't think we'd get through a trade deadline without A.J. Preller just completely shocking us, did you? I mean, this is exactly what happened. The thought all along for the last few weeks was the Padres are going to get a starting pitcher. And the thought even going into the last few hours here was that they're going to focus on a mid-back of the rotation starter. They already got Jason Adam. Their bullpen looked really good. The starting pitcher was what was missing. Instead, A.J. Preller shocks all of us, pivots to arguably the best reliever available, gives up a pretty big haul of prospects to get him. He's a free agent at season's end. And look, it says a lot about where the Padres are this year, where they've been the last few years, really. They're trying to win the World Series. They're trying to make another deep run into October. There's also part of it, too, according to people who just throughout the industry analyzing the Padres situation, A.J. Preller's job might be on the line here. Peter Seidler's not here anymore. Maybe there's some of that aspect in this as well. Having said that, though, I do think maybe the Padres are another team to look out for a starting pitcher still. Joe Musgrove is on the IL with an elbow injury for the second time this year. Yu-Darvish is on the restricted list. We don't know when or if he's going to come back. Maybe he pivots, trades a reliever for a starter. Who knows? But I'd still be on the lookout for them in that department.
All right, hang in there. You have Glasnow and Waldron tonight, Kershaw and Cease tomorrow night. Hello, National League West. It's fun, separated by, I think, 6 games now. It's unbelievable.
It's been the trade deadline for A.J. Preller since August 6th of 2014, since he took over for the San Diego Padres general manager. That's how aggressive he's always been.
Probably the way that he described it was a pretty big haul. Let's get into the names Snelling and Mazur and et cetera.
So this is a heavy package, we'll say, for a rental closer. Robbie Snelling is the headliner here. Started the season in the top 100. He's a guy that has average to above average stuff, former 4-star linebacker recruit to LSU, has really good command. There was a belief that the velocity would continue to come and he'd turn into a mid-rotation guy. That hasn't really happened yet. He's now fallen off of my top 100. Adam Mazur, another guy that worked his way into that fringes of the top 100 conversation, came up to the big leagues, got shelled, is seen as probably being a big league starter, but he's got to work out some of the fastball command and tactics that sort of happen in the zone for him. And then Paulie and Bashir's are two guys. Bashir's more up the middle, Paulie more on the corners, more of support guys that can be in platoon or bench situations. Bashir's all the way in the low minors, Paulie in the upper minors. This is, 6 years of control for 4 guys. That's a lot of dudes, but it's also not a top 100 guy, and it's a rental closer. That's the context. Jeff, what else we got on this?
And I think it's important to understand the way that the San Diego Padres operate. They feel like the way that they draft, they scout internationally, and they develop players, that this is a machine that can continue to churn out enough players, not an overwhelming amount like the Dodgers. They're not a pitching machine like the Cleveland Guardians or the Seattle Mariners. They're just a team that can get guys who are good enough, often enough to put them together in packages and go out and get star-level players. And that's what Tanner Scott has pitched like this year. He has been a star-level closer, and adding him to Robert Suarez and Jason Adam and Jeremiah Estrada and the bullpen that they've put together there, it's dangerous. They are a dangerous group that they're going to face any team in the playoffs if they make it there.
So wait, you're actually suggesting, because you've heard this from so many executives, Passan, that we want to protect our assets. It almost implies the opposite of what you just said. Well, once we draft superstars, we're not going to be able to sort of fill that void. You just suggested the Padres operate differently. Like, we can move these because we're going to continue to do this.
And they have, Karl. They went and drafted Jackson Merrill in the first round with the 27th pick and took James Wood in the second round in the same draft. Merrill is a star at 21 years old, and Wood is about to be a star. They go out then and sign Ethan Salas, the #1 player in Latin America in his class. They go out the next year. They sign Leo DeVries, #1 player in his class, and a guy who's beloved by people around baseball. I mean, they're just really good at this. Now, what they also tend to do is run the risk that when they trade guys, they could turn into a James Wood somewhere else, or they can blossom into the types of players, like with Trey Turner, who can be superstars. There are some organizations that have the ability to trade guys, and they're not very good elsewhere. The Padres are just willing to run the risk that they're okay with them being a superstar.
I think these guys undervalue their own ability to judge talent. They're darn good at this stuff. It just doesn't happen once every 4 years. You get into prospect paralysis, it's a problem. That's the National League playoff picture as we speak right now. Phillies have been listing a little bit lately. Dodgers, Padres begin a big series. Brewers have been the story, but they're coming back a little bit. All right, Jeff, it came together how? The idea that Preller ended up with them. And have you gotten any response from any other executives about Scott going to the Padres?
I have. I'm not going to say it on air because we would be fined by the FCC if I did. And look, that's the emotion that A.J. Preller in a trade deadline season can bring out in his fellow executives, because this is what he does. He goes and he makes big deals. The Padres do not nibble around the edges. They're not a team with a lot of organizational depth. They go for stars, and you win World Series with stars. Go back and look at every roster of a World Series outside of the 2015 Kansas City Royals. You will find stars up and down, and that is exactly what he did here now, Buster.
57 minutes till the deadline. Garrett Crochet, the Lamborghini of this trade market, is still with the Chicago White Sox. Look, I've spoken with executives of other teams who really believe that because he has 2 years of control after this season, that the White Sox can keep Crochet and make a great trade of him during the course of wintertime. It's not going to cost them a ton if they don't trade him now.
Eduardo, what's it like when you're the Padres and Tanner Scott walks into your clubhouse tonight? You look around and go, he's on our team now. How much does that mean for the players?
If he gets in tonight, I want to know what airline he took. Let's get there. But the thing is, with him, it's dynamic, right? You already have two other lefties in that bullpen that are dynamic. You add a third one to it. You add depth to it. And it's not so much about getting to October as it is setting it up in October. If they get in with the way that the postseason schedules are set up to be played, it's going to be really interesting how those guys are used.
So those smiles you saw on the Yankees' face the other night, don't you think that's in part because the team is going out and adding people and trying to make them better?
I think the worst thing you can do right now if you're a team is not add anyone when you think you're in contention. Look, psychologically, it destroys that clubhouse. Like, really? You don't believe in us? What are we doing? Are we winners or not? That's why I'm curious to see what the Texas Rangers are going to do and why is Tyler Anderson still an Angel. I think those are lefties. I think that's a lefty that's important, and those are arms and those two teams that can help other teams.
I spoke to a general manager the other day. He said, do you think I like being that guy who walks into the room and I've done nothing? He said, I've done that before. It's awful. Yeah. Everyone's looking at me like you completely failed at your job, which is why I think all these contenders, even some who privately are feeling like, maybe we're not that great, they're making moves because they want to show their players they're trying.
It does feel like when the show ends, we're not going to sit there and say, I can't believe X team didn't do anything. Most of the teams that are have done something, not as big as what the Padres just pulled off.